Welcome to Andrea Lake 101, the making of a billionaire, you guys. We have a Sticker Wars episode for you today. Oh, we sure do. We are going to start out updating you on everything Stickergate because now that my biggest competitor in the $42 billion annual world of stickers is running for Congress, he's releasing all kinds of things. Oh my. So there's some anti-trans content. There is some stuff about TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. And there is a reel where he talks about Rob Reiner and Rob Reiner's death. He calls Rob Reiner a traitor in a tweet. We'll get to all of that today on Stickergate. It's wild to me, but like, cool, live your life. Thanks. Say something else, brah. Keep talking. Just say one more thing. Anthony Constantino, the CEO of Sticker Mule, also was wearing a t-shirt on one of his reels that said, "Stop trans propaganda, you guys." Okay, we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the Sticker Junkie holiday party, our secret Santa. We had so much fun. People's creativity was running wild at the Sticker Junkie holiday party. It was a complete Jenny banged it out of the park for us with that this year. And Dana, what on earth, created a whole ass murder mystery with like articles out of a newspaper and little pass keys and invitations to a party and different character names. And everybody was like a little improv thing. And we all immediately got our sheets about our characters. I will go into all of that. We had the most fun Sticker Junkie holiday party. It was a complete blast. We're also going to talk a little bit more about the team, what we are doing in 2026, which is all of the planning that I'm doing while I am out here right now in Sedona over the holidays. I am marking up our whole entire 2026 marketing plan, and it's pretty great. I'm not going to lie. So without further ado, let's hop back into Stickergate. You guys, it is actually Christmas morning. My friend just left. We just had breakfast and I'm waiting for some friends to come for dinner. And I'm having a mimosa, as one does on Christmas. I'm recording this podcast for you all. It's not going to be a very long one because timing. I was going to record it the other day and then one of my girlfriends texted me and said, "I'm going to get there 3 hours early." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I will record the podcast at some other time then." So happy Christmas for those of you who celebrate, and happy holidays or not to whatever you do or don't celebrate today. But it is a gorgeous, beautiful, sunny day now in Sedona, Arizona. And I am going to tell you what's been happening with Stickergate. Okay, so Anthony Constantino, the CEO and co-founder of Sticker Mule, has now declared his candidacy several times. He sort of keeps declaring it over and over and over again. And he's being more active on like all of the different podcasts. I saw that he was on OAN the other day. And all of the conservative media outlets, he's obviously talking to them. He's running for Congress and he's releasing different reels. And so instead of me telling you what he said in these reels, we're just going to go ahead and watch them for ourselves together. So the voice that you're about to hear is going to be the co-founder and CEO of Sticker Mule. As a reminder, this is a company, Sticker Mule, that has 1,000 employees, over 1,000 employees. With 22 employees at Sticker Junkie, we will be able to do $10 million in revenue with 22 employees. He has 1,000. This is a $42 billion space. Is a large. Wow. Okay. So this next voice that you're going to hear is going to be Anthony Constantino, the founder and CEO of Sticker Mule. I actually just watched his Christmas message and it's too much to unpack after mommy did smoke a bong hit and is having a mimosa. So we're going to watch Potentially Worry Your Pretty Little Heads. I will unpack what he is saying because it's really confusing. In his latest reel, he is at AC132 on Instagram. And this is his public Instagram page for when he's running for Congress. It's a verified page on it.
Excited to work on a big topic very soon called affordability. Democrats made it their new buzzword, but they forget to mention they're the ones that cause things to go in a bad direction in the first place. Joe Biden went crazy with spending. Inflation ran wild. He caused wars all over the place. All these things are very expensive. It's important to know, since we reelected President Trump, everything is moving in the right direction to make life more affordable. Most importantly, President Trump has secured peace all over the place in the world. He stopped 8 wars. War is very, very expensive. Nothing is more expensive than war and loss of life. It's terrible. President Trump Also has crime dropping very quickly. We've never seen crime rates drop as quickly as they have in this last year under President Trump. Very expensive if you get robbed or stabbed or murdered. Murder is very expensive, both in terms of economic and emotional costs. President Trump has crime going in the right direction. Inflation is declining under President Trump. Just about everything is going in the right direction. Illegal immigration, 800,000 illegals were let into New York State under Democrats. President Trump sealed the border. He's getting rid of many of the worst illegals, and he's addressing that very effectively. Pretty much everything that's going in the right direction could be going in the right direction. Record highs in the stock market. I think we're going to have a great 2026, and I hope we can all be happy about the great things that are happening in our country and work together in the
And he just said he is running for Congress because only Republicans are handling affordability and the Democrats don't know what they're doing. And Joe Biden went crazy with spending and made everything more expensive, which is economically incorrect. I mean, you could just look at the numbers and they're incorrect. And then he states a lot of facts that are also profoundly incorrect and not looking at the right economic indicators. I am a member of the Global Economic Institute, and Anthony does not appear to be a member of the Global Economic Institute in the way that he's explaining affordability. It's wild to me. The Republicans in Congress, like, look, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but the Republicans in Congress just voted for $1 trillion tax cut to their homies. Okay. That's why your healthcare is going up. So it's basically an equal amount that's being pulled out from ACA and healthcare in the United States. That's going to this corporate welfare, to $1 trillion tax cut and benefit plan for the wealthiest people in the world with no performance metric tied to it, right? So there's several commentator talking head type people that make it sound like you're stupid if you don't agree with them. Of like, oh, well, this is just like this. And I'm like, okay, asshole, it's not. So there are still people today who for no reason whatsoever will argue that trickle-down economics is a thing that works. That is profoundly, totally, utterly incorrect. It absolutely does not. And we can just look to a really simple recent example. So the reason your healthcare insurance is going up, my healthcare went from $661 a month to $1,934 a month. Okay. So I don't have healthcare right now. I'm going to get on a new plan in 3 months when we can afford to get it through Sticker Junkie. You guys, what the actual motherfuck? Are you fucking shitting me right now? $1,300 extra dollars a month? Because these dudes in Congress cannot get it together, and then they're just blaming each other without looking at the actual metrics or the actual number. There is a reason that every other first world country in the world has socialized medicine, and socialization, or socialism, democratic socialism, has been so distorted and so profoundly misunderstood. There are still wealthy people in democratic socialist countries. The difference is your janitor is not poor. The secretary is not poor. Your maid is not poor. Teachers are not poor. Everybody is properly compensated. So I keep saying over and over again in a way that I really hope lands, ultra wealthy people are not the problem. The problem is ultra wealthy corporations who underpay their employees. If everyone was paying their employees properly, no fucking problemo. We pay taxes for a reason. Taxes should go to make the whole entire economy better, not corporations better. The solution to having a better corporation, May Fox and I were talking about this the other day, and we are going to be doing some dirty tea episodes coming up about stuff like this. However, if you give someone something and you are a grown-up, you are an adult, you are a person who understands business or economy, you make sure that whatever you're giving them is tied to a result. So if you're giving $1 trillion tax break to the ultra wealthy, the ultra elite wealthy, and the ultra wealthy corporations, if you're giving them corporate welfare in the form of give back programs, there needs to be accountability with what happens there. But what happened this time is there was no metric tied to it. Everyone's healthcare increased, and we lost a ton of other stuff in that fucking monstrosity of a bill. And there's $1 trillion tax break. And a half a second later, Jeff Bezos laid off 14,000 people. A half a second later, many, many multi-billion-dollar companies who just received $1 trillion tax break spiked unemployment and actual tangible layoffs. So whenever anyone's like, oh, the economy's growing, oh, inflation is totally under control, I'm like, oh, seriously, stop it right now. We are not shopping at the same stores. I have done side-by-side comparisons. If you are saying that, it means that you are so out of touch with money that it is astounding. Anyone shopping in a grocery store understands that inflation is rampant. Anyone that needs anything for their home, that is buying anything that is manufactured in China, which is virtually everything in your house, understands that these fucking wackadoo, out of nowhere, totally impulsive tariffs have dramatically increased the pricing on everything. So because the government was shut down, there was 2 full months where there was no tangible economic reporting because the government was shut down, so people were not collecting the data. So then these data releases for the last 2 months are just only showing the metric of like gasoline prices and one other thing, which is the only thing that prices have come down on. And it's not showing anything else. And now all of these conservative, hardcore right analysts or pundits or people who just believe that are gloating like, oh, inflation is down. And I'm like, go to the fucking grocery store and say that again to me with a straight face. Okay? Because no, it is not. The price of everything is going up. And when the government doesn't report like 40 of the 42 key categories that will track whether pricing is going up or down, this is just a fake number. This is not a real number that anyone's like, oh yeah, I'm super thriving. So when you have people that are making $7 an hour and they're making $14,000 a year, you guys, are you shitting me right now? Nobody can get by on that. It's not even a possible thing. So Anthony is diving very deep, not just into affordability, which has been several reels about. I'm going to put together a super cut of what he's saying about affordability because I would love to know how he plans to make things affordable, because so far I've heard him say he's going to release things about affordability. And I'm like, cool. Like literally tell me how, because the only way to solve affordability is to massively raise wages across the board. Artificially lowering prices does not work and is a terrible, terrible, terrible economic policy. So you have this level of discontent in this country that has truly never been felt before, because the wealth divide in the United States has never been remotely close to how cataclysmically far apart it is right now. There are people who are multi-millionaires arguing about affordability. I'm like, okay, cool. I will acknowledge this forever. I would never have understood how bad it is out there for the average person had I not lost everything in 9/9/2023. And we did just miss our November by $100,000. I understand what a dollar means now. And I didn't. Even when I was just like baseline comfortable, how would I know? It did not matter to me if my grocery bill was $80 or $200. There was no lifestyle difference for me in that. However, the fact that everything has gotten 3 to 5 times more expensive while wages have gone up like 10%, and for the minimum wage, they have not gone up a penny in the last 16 years, and nobody in Congress is doing anything to fix that. Are you fucking kidding me right now? So you can throw out any buzzword that you want out there, but the average constituents in the average county in this country are failing, are struggling hard. And that is the fault of all of the politicians. And as long as they are screaming at each other, that is never going to get solved. But instead of actually fixing long-term economic problems, for many, many decades now, we have been arguing with each other for the same arguments over vaccines or immigration or abortion rights. And virtually everyone on each side is giving incredibly slanted data that's just hyper incendiary. This is going to keep people arguing. And the average person, and even the average person running for Congress, not very well informed on what the actual data is. I would love the opportunity to sit down and talk with anyone, because you can actually just go find all of this stuff. So in all of this, I keep saying, hey, look, the only thing that we should be talking about is the way that people conduct themselves in life and how we should be treating people in business. And so in Sticker Junkie, we always are reaching to treat our people the way that we would actually want to be treated ourselves. And so we do have a goal of getting everyone on a living wage, which is $32 an hour in San Diego County. It's actually probably more like 34 now. My goal is for any employee who has worked at Sticker Junkie at least for a year to be on $80,000 a year base salary. From there, we do not go at more than 7x for the C-suite. So if a base level salary person that's been there for a year is making $80,000, then the highest that a C-level member who has been there for a year would make is $560,000. Now, at first, that spread wouldn't even be close. Are you kidding me right now? It would be like 80,000 to 200,000. But when we're really, really rolling, that would be the largest spread, would be 7x up. The average CEO makes hundreds of times more than their, and in some cases, thousands of times more than their lowest paid employee. I think that is unnecessary. I think that's antithetical to having a healthy company. And people, when they take pride and ownership in what they're doing and they believe in a common vision of just creating something really cool and really great and really fun and living their best life at work, they're never leaving that job. And those kind of people create miraculous companies. I have always said, since I've come back in this company, I want a place where people can build their careers. This is not just like the job that you have in college. This is not just like the job that I couldn't find anything else, so I took this. This is where you're going to pour your life force energy into. And if we are all going to work for 8 hours a day, you guys, it should not feel like fucking torture. You should not be treated like a child. If your kid gets sick and you need to take a day off to go take care of them. However, we have created this very, very yikesy situation in the workplace in the United States where everybody is treated as replaceable, disposable. Employees feel that way about their jobs. Employers feel that way about their employees. And I'm like, you guys, we're the ones that can fix this. We're the grownups in the room right now. Like, we're the ones that can make this different. So let's start right here and make it different. So in Junkie, as in any of my companies, I never thought that I would discuss politics, even though I have been studying economics and geopolitics for 30 years. I literally just always was fascinated by economics, fascinated by global business, fascinated by geopolitics. That is why I learned from it. And because I sort of had a little bit of a complex, like a little imposter syndrome, seeing I didn't go to college and just started my first company when I was like 17 years old, I really, really wanted to seem very informed. So I read about the history of everything, about the history of many, 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 many countries, about just the way all things work. How did trade even get started? How did scientific developments even happen in the first place? How does science work? I learned so much about physics, so much about so many things, mostly just because I felt like, oh, that is the stuff that you would learn in college, and I am not going there. In 2 weeks, I turn 52. Oh, Capricorns. I know you're feeling me out there. So it's weird that all of a sudden my biggest competitor is going hyper political. Plus, I was a contestant on The Apprentice. So I know Donald Trump personally, knew him quite well at one point in time. And it's really weird how everything is just coming around in my life in this big circle. And I'm like, wow, it's so strange that I know so much about a lot of things that people are talking about right now. So as I'm starting to film the reels for the next year and talk about global politics and talk about economics, talk about trading, talk about sticker wars, just talk about all the things that are really big points of interest to me, it's really wild that my biggest competitor is doing the same thing. And he has declared that he is giving back to the society by he himself running for politics on a super hardcore MAGA agenda and explaining to us that how great that Donald Trump is winning as hard as a person can win by every key metric. That's what his most recent video says, the Christmas one. But today we are going to cover something that happened this week that was really disturbing to me. Like, truly, it's really hard to actually truly disturb me. But I was shook by this because it was just so gross to me. So seeing you're following the show, you know that I've been making a very conscious effort to stay off of social media and have been very transparent in the increase in quality of mental health when I just do not go on there, because it's so much bad, and the news is specifically designed to trigger a fear response in you. That is how it's created, because that creates more minutes of watch time. And so there's always something, some flash in the pan thing that just happens each and every day that is worse than the previous day. And no matter where you fall in the spectrum of politics, that's just going to be the case. If you're in one of those feeds, if you're a new mom, it's going to be something quite different. It's going to be like terrifying things that could happen to your newborn, but there's always going to be something really, really scary that's showing up on your feed because it triggers a fear response. Then you'll be shown like a puppy and a comedy thing and maybe a wedding proposal or a homecoming, and then you'll be given an ad to consume something. Like, that's sort of the basic algorithm that people are in. So they need terrifying content, because the terrifying content makes people want to watch, because everybody like wants to look out for something that's very scary that might be coming. But I have fallen into some truly weird little algorithms lately. And I did see when Rob Reiner was brutally, viciously murdered allegedly by his son, who is a drug addict and mentally ill, and has been, it's been an ongoing, open, transparent thing that they've been talking about as a family. Donald Trump tweeted on his Truth Social this exact tweet, if you haven't seen it. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger that he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as, all caps, Trump derangement syndrome, end caps, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy, all caps, by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle end in peace. So what happened then were like a lot of MAGA people are like, no, that's a really nice tweet. And I'm like, in what universe? What? Did you just read what I read? Did you just read what I read? So first of all, Donald Trump just made a brutal, savage murder all about himself. And then he victim blamed the person that was actually murdered by a very mentally ill person. Similar things have happened in other cases where there are these brutal murders. You know, very recently, 2 state senators in Minnesota, Melissa and Mark Hortman, were murdered, assassinated in their homes. Charlie Kirk was assassinated while he was giving a political speech. There is tons of political violence to go around. So it's interesting when you see a lot of stuff that's quite offensive and just disgusting coming from both sides. Virtually always, virtually ubiquitously, neither person understands that they're doing the exact same thing that the opposite side that they are railing against is doing. So in this case, in the video that we're about to watch, Anthony is going to make some comments about Rob Reiner, and I'm just going to let him say it to you in his own words. This is my biggest competition, Anthony Constantino, the co-founder and CEO of Sticker Mule, that you're going to hear his voice next. This is from his Instagram feed. Okay, we're just going to listen to this together.
Anthony Constantino, I quickly wanted to explain President Trump's statement on Rob Reiner, why it's a good thing for the country. President Trump sparked a national conversation about something.
So he's stating that the horrifying tweet that I just read to you is a good thing for the country. That's his hot take on it.
Well, TDS has been ripping apart families, ripping apart friendships. People throw their friendships in the garbage. They end their family relationships. It's destroying people. I've been speaking out about it ever since President Trump got shot.
This is a hot take. This is a hot take. So he's saying that every family that's been ripped apart, it is the fault of people who are suffering from TDS, called Trump derangement syndrome, in which people who disagree with Donald Trump are in fact deranged. That is the propagation of this belief, is what they meant in that tweet.
I want less TDS in America. I think President Trump does too. The president believes TDS contributed to what happened to Mr. Reiner. I tend to think the same. If he wasn't so consumed with hate.
Okay, so he has now just blamed Rob Reiner for his own death, saying that Rob Reiner's vocal dislike of President Trump is what caused his own death. Okay.
And rage for the president. He probably would have handled things a little better and things.
All right. So it goes on for a while in this vein. And then he says some comments about Charlie Kirk.
President Trump started a conversation. Let's all keep talking the next few days. Okay. Respect. And I like to see a lot of Republicans that are maybe taking the other side in this issue to show that they have heart.
So then he goes on to say that he likes to see Republicans take the other side, because there's only 2 sides if you're a polarized person. There's no in between. There's no middle. There's no it's bad when everybody does it. It's bad when anyone blames an assassination of a person or a murder of a person on the person who was assassinated or murdered. Okay, that's always bad. That's not sometimes bad.
Have heart. Don't forget the Democrats showed no heart when they murdered Charlie Kirk.
So he is saying the Democrats murdered Charlie Kirk, not that Charlie Kirk was murdered by a clearly very disturbed individual. That's who assassinates people in the middle of the day because they're speaking words. That is a profoundly damaged person that would do that. That is not the Democrats doing that. That is a person doing that. Just in the same way, when Melissa and Mark Hortman were assassinated, a political assassination in their home by a very deranged person. Nobody's saying like the Republicans murdered Mark and Melissa Hortman. They are saying a very individually deranged person. Whereas now Anthony is saying the Democrats murdered Charlie Kirk instead of a very, very deranged individual murdered Charlie Kirk.
No heart at all. So I respect all Republicans that maybe feel differently than me.
And that Democrats showed no heart when Charlie Kirk was murdered. And I'm like, all that I saw, and I'm not a Democrat, but I saw those feeds, was, we are so sorry for your loss. We have to solve problems with words. Assassination is not the right answer. So I don't know what exact videos that he saw. They're certainly out there. There are people that did, when Charlie Kirk died, the exact same thing that the CEO of Sticker Mule is doing right now, and blame Charlie Kirk for his own death in the same way that Anthony is blaming Rob Reiner for his own death right now.
But I think it's a great conversation about TDS that we're having right now. Let's try to cure this horrible disease, Trump derangement syndrome.
Okay, so that's Anthony Constantino, who is running for Congress, my biggest competitor. And I'm not going to watch any more of his videos today, but I'm going to show you one of his videos because if you're on YouTube, he is saying some things about the trans community that are not great. You can go look and watch his content yourself, but he has a lot of anti-trans content where he has a truly, truly hot take on things that he is reading/seeing. It is wild to me. He is wearing a t-shirt, a huge t-shirt that says "Stop Trans Propaganda." So what I am saying to you is, if you own a very large LGBTQ organization and you would like to get your stickers printed elsewhere and you just don't support this, you just don't want that to be where your dollars go. I own a company in the same space. The advantage to going with one of the top biggest companies is that we actually all are tech companies. My background is in tech companies. I started a tech company called Zoco Inc. that was featured on Oprah. I started a tech company, Mentor Mojo, very similar to Masterclass. That's the one where my CTO unfortunately got murdered, so we never launched that company. But my background is in huge quantity of product sales as well as tech. So the way that when I'm like casually on the podcast, and I'm like, oh yeah, we just closed another Fortune 100, that is because I build integrations specifically in for large companies that make everything with them, purchasing promotional products, stickers, etc., easier. I can't say the way that we do that, otherwise our competitors will copy us. And it is, to my understanding, the best integrations that exist. When I reach out to one of my Fortune 100 clients, we have more than one now, they're like, holy shit, this is so cool looking. I'm like, I know. And so I keep saying like, oh, the sticker space is a really big space, because it is. But there's actually just like only a few really large companies that are actually going to interface with the Fortune 500 and build something that solves problems for them and work with them and integrate into their whole entire corporation. And that is the type of company that we're building. That's why we can look down the barrel of this type of insane growth. The other part of this very fast podcast is our holiday party. Are you kidding me? Dana created a murder mystery for a holiday party. She had 12 different parts. Everybody had different names. The sheriff, there was a sheriff's deputy. There were 2 CEOs from different pharmaceutical companies. One CEO was tragically murdered. And we had to figure out of the 12 people who the 3 that conspired into the murder were. It was so creative. If you're watching me on YouTube right now, you are seeing the assets that Dana created. Dana is our night manager and lead mechanic at Sticker Junkie. She's so profoundly creative. She comes up with like awesome promotional stickers. She's super artistic. And she created this whole entire amazing game that we played where we got to like call witnesses, and everyone immediately on our staff was so down to just do improv. We all figured out our characters. We all started coming up with accents. We all sort of settled out on Southern accents. We did immediately like called witnesses. We did cross-examination of them to bring out the facts. Every different person was assigned a character, and every different character had different secrets that only that character knew. So she set it up to where you would like mingle for 5 minutes with other guests and just talk casually, but people could lie in that time. And then the sheriff, the deputy sheriff, and myself, the FBI agent who was in town on other business, could go talk to like the priest that was invited to dinner that night, to the journalist that was doing an expose on what the happenings between these companies, to the CEO of the other opposite pharmaceutical company, to the investor, to his estranged daughter. There were red herrings. It was so well thought out and so creative and so fun. I was like, girl, you could hire this out for a holiday party. This was so much fun. And so we were supposed to, as a unit, come up, the FBI and the sheriff's office, with the murderers. And I said, can we have a dissenting opinion? Because we just had one person different. And I'm not going to lie, I did win. It was Julian Frost, along with the CEO of the pharmaceutical company and Ms. Candace Kane, that's correct, Candy Kane, who was a estranged employee from that company. And it was just like the most brilliant, creative thing that you could possibly imagine. Dana also is the one that came up with the Sticker Junkie Olympic. Next year at Holiday Party, we are going to give Dana time and budget to come up with whatever she wants to come up with, because she comes up with these competitive games at our parties that are so freaking much fun. So it was a great time. We did our Sticker Junkie Secret Santa, and it's really fun to do that when everyone knows each other really well. So the prizes were really meaningful. I have like every part of the Harry Potter universe in Legos in my house in Sedona. And I've thought 2 or 3 times about getting like the owl that sits on Privet Way, because I have the house on Privet Drive and I never bought it. And that was my Secret Santa from Wendy. Like, it's just such a good vibe there, you guys. When they told me like, hey, because I live in this really nice building that has really nice common space and we've done parties there before. And they're like, no, we actually want to have it in the warehouse. I'm like, how are you going to make this Sticker Junkie warehouse like a winter wonderland? But when I tell you, you guys, they did. It looked amazing. We had so much fun. And the thing that I can't really convey that we're kind of trying to catch the essence of in the business is that like everybody at Sticker Junkie really actually just legitimately likes each other. We're actually just all legitimately friends. And so it's just so much fun to hang out with each other. So it really is the place that you work where you're just going to make lifelong friendships. And I recently was on the Dark Arts of Team Optimization podcast. Brian was also on an episode with them. And I was just like, you know what? I just treat employees the way that I would want to be treated if I was an employee. I would want my contribution to that company to be really, really valued. I would stay there for a really long time if people listened to what I had to say and really implemented stuff around that and praised me when I did something great and taught me how to do something better if I didn't know how to properly manage a particular situation. And that you don't just feel like a little kid that's getting called to the table because they're in trouble, that like you're part of a team. And if somebody's getting talked to about something, it's because it's going to make them a better team member in the future. And it's not punitive. Nobody's made to feel like they're stupid because they made a decision. Everyone makes mistakes. And so if I make a mistake, it's because a process isn't in place. If somebody else makes a mistake, it's because a process isn't in place. And so I've been talking to a lot more people now that I'm doing this influencer cohort. And I talked to this attorney who has 3 million followers, who we were just talking about the way that you structure a business, because the type of attorney he is a worker's attorney. His whole tagline is like, I will see your boss. And usually business owners don't want to be friends with that kind of person. But I'm like, no, we follow all the rules. And the reason that most bosses get sued is because they either don't know the rules or they know the rules and they break them because they're in a position of power. And I don't think any of that is right. I don't think it's right to have a corporation where the CEO makes 471 times the lowest paid employee. And I would never want to have that type of a corporation. And so as we go in and we're creating these old school sort of the companies that you used to see in the 80s, where people are just really valued, where they make their whole career, where they walk away with a pension, where they have a whole retirement fund. That is the only type of a company that I want to run. So I have to cut this short because my friends are actually here in the back room right now for Christmas. But if you want to buy from a company like that, come over to stickerjunkie.com, follow our journey. This is the year 2026, where we're going from 2 million in revenue to 10 million in revenue in a single calendar year. It is going to be a hair blowing back experience. And if you are currently right now purchasing from one of our competitors and their values don't align with yours, or if you're purchasing from Sticker Giant, which is owned by a multi-billion-dollar private equity fund, or if you're purchasing from Sticker App, which is also owned by a multi-billion-dollar private equity fund, come give us a shot over at Sticker Junkie, especially if you order $5,000 a year worth of stickers or more, or $1,500 worth of stickers a year or more, especially if you buy $100,000 or $200,000 worth of stickers. Come give us a call, because we really have the integrations that you're not even going to believe them when you see them. You're going to like us as much as we like you. All right, guys, that does it for me on this week's episode of Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire. I will see you next week for more Dirty Tea. I'm going to film a Dirty Tea episode with May Fox tomorrow, and that will be out next week. All right, take care. Until next time, grab your popcorn, grab your wine, and as always, I will come in piping hot with all of the tea.